Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I'm speaking with Faime. He has just put out a new EP titled Love Drunk that's been getting fantastic reviews all over the place, and I am super excited to talk to him all about it. I want to thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Austin. How are you?
I am doing well too. It is a great day so far. Get to talk about music,
Oh yeah.
especially good music. So
Mhm.
I want to hop right into it at this point. I've listened to this EP a few times at this point, and it's honestly gotten better with each listen. One thing that stands out the most is your lyricism.
Mhm.
I never want to put words in people's mouths when it comes to their messages, so I want to have this time for you to kind of open up and explain what it's all about.
Definitely. No, appreciate you taking the time and listening to the music. I think, you know, when I create, I definitely want it to be like I want it to age like fine wine, my music, right?
Of
So I,
course.
I want it to be as timeless as possible, and that's kind of how I followed my inspirations as well, like whether it be Coldplay or other artists that have inspired me through the process. And in creating Love Drunk, the EP, it was kind of a fun process because I really wanted to spend time focusing on what are the different aspects that one can have in a relationship.
Sure.
Sometimes you have sadness, sometimes you have happiness, and sometimes you have the in between when you're talking about, no pun intended, but the ups and downs of the entire process. So when creating these songs, I kind of wanted to figure out how can I modernize some of these different aspects of a relationship from when you find someone and you're completely infatuated by
Of
them
course.
to when you're like, and sometimes if things don't go well, like how difficult it can be to forget them. And this body of work kind of serves as my own little collection of these different sentiments that one can feel when in love with someone or when trying to forget about somebody.
Right. I think what I like so much about this is that, I mean, obviously, you're not the first person to talk about love in music.
Mhm,
However, you have done a great job of modernizing it and actually presenting a fresh take,
mhm.
which in the industry of pop music, it feels like things are being recycled over and over again. So for someone to actually come in, do things differently is a real breath of fresh air. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, thank
Um,
you. When
putting the
we
lyrics, oh no, please go.
No, I was just saying, like, we really wanted to focus, considering my audience, a lot of it is in Asia. We
Sure.
wanted to focus to try to do our best to focus on like the basic elements of this whole process. We didn't want to make it like a complicated project with complicated themes. We wanted it to be that if someone is picking this up fresh anywhere around the world, like how can they relate to it and how can it
Mhm.
stick with them beyond just like sometimes you listen to a song for maybe 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, and then you move on. But as has been the theme with my previously released music, a lot of my music is kind of getting like the pages are turning a year and a half later. And
Sure.
so we wanted to like make it so that the lyricism that we use is something that's clever but also absorbable by everybody around the world. So I think we always try to become better with each song, but I appreciate you giving your kind words on that.
You're very welcome. And I think another thing with your music, even just putting the lyrics aside for just a moment, there's so many people that when they listen to music, lyrics are the last thing they're absorbing. You're trying to hook them with catchy production and cool, inventive melodies, and ultimately trying to get the song stuck in your head.
Mhm.
Which is another thing that you've done pretty effortlessly here, because like I
Thank you.
said, I've listened a few times at this point,
Thank you.
and it definitely stuck in my head. So I'd love to hear a background on the production, if you had any outside help putting this together, and really just like how it all came together.
Totally. So when it comes down to all of my music that I've put out, I've worked with a couple guys out in LA. They're part of my team. They're like my brothers.
Nice.
They go by chapters, and
Okay.
they've kind of been executive producing the project with the help of another good friend of ours who's also as part of the team. His name is Jed Peak, and the three of us, I would say, for the last 2.5 years, have been working together on just creating this world for Fame. I had a vision for it where I wanted it to be like a different take on pop music, almost like a more uplifting take on pop music without
Yeah.
necessarily being like super like bright and in your face, but more so just it should be feel good pop music. And I think these guys, you know, they're such talented producers and writers, and they help bring my vision to life. And
Mhm.
I come from a little bit of a production and writing background, but you know, we as we've been doing before and we did for Love Drunk, we kind of went in with this whole idea of, hey, again, how do we take what I've all of the different themes that I've had for my songs in the past, and how do we put it in a put it in a channel that can help bring it, like make it a little bit more commercial of an appeal, but continue to have those, you know, meaningful lyrics, catchy melodies, simplicity, but also simplicity that people can absorb and really relate to and connect with and stick with for a long
Right.
time. And when creating Love Drunk, you know, we started back in Arizona all the way in 4th of July weekend. There's one song on it that started a little bit earlier in the year, but the idea of the EP started to form in the summer. And you know, we kind of just came in, did our thing where we set up in Arizona. We like to take these little writing retreats away from where we
Sure.
stay, which is in LA. And yeah, we just started putting some atmospheres together and tried to understand like, hey, what would be a good palette for music that could come out like later in 2021 that would really sit well with people going into the new year as well. And we started to form these ideas, and one thing led to another, and then the title song Love Drunk kind of came, it came to us very, very quickly. And then from that point we kind of continued to move forward with building out the project throughout the course of the time we were in Arizona. We came back to LA and we continued to like develop and create some more songs that we felt, so we created songs that were released that weren't part of the Love Drunk EP, but we
Hmm.
wanted to like make sure that the body of work as a whole really related and had kind of that level of production that you see in the final packaged version.
Of course.
And yeah, we kind of focused on creating some atmospheric synths, and we have a very strong connection with organic instruments. So a lot of acoustic guitar, electric guitar, some string work as well. And one thing led to another, and we kind of had song after song ready over the course of just a couple months. And it was a really fun experience.
There you go. Now, so are you the type of artist that's always working towards something else? Like, obviously, you just put out this record. I know how much time and effort it took,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm very aware of that. But are you always looking towards the next project in terms of like experimentation? What am I going to do? And like actually mapping out, a calendar for yourself?
I honestly am. I mean, that's just something that you can call it a blessing or a curse, because sometimes it becomes difficult to kind of stay in the moment. But
I get that. I would
I'm
say
very
more
much,
blessing because,
yeah,
in
definitely
my
more
opinion,
blessing.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
for
there's too
me, it's
many artists
definitely,
that just do whatever they want, but you got to plan.
yeah,
It's a
exactly.
business.
No, it's definitely a blessing for me. I would
Yeah,
say there's in the creative side, it can get a little difficult when you're
sure,
like, even right now, like my team, we have of all these, I have all these different plans in my mind for 2022
sure.
that are going to be kicking into motion, and we have meetings for that all the time, and just things are happening. So when all of that is happening, it's hard to be creatively focused on, like, you know, creating is accessing like a whole different part of your brain.
Yeah.
And for me personally, like I actually was an engineer, and I studied engineering throughout like school, and I worked as one as well for some time. And that part of me always kicks in whenever
It
it comes
has to.
to
That
music.
actually makes a lot of sense in terms of
Yeah.
like organization and planning ahead and just being
Yes.
strategic about things. I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah.
How long have you actually
So
been making music for?
one more time.
How long have you been making music for?
So when I was 5, that's when I actually started singing.
Damn, okay.
Yeah, so I
Goes
was
way
singing from
back.
a pretty early age, but sports became a big part of my life. And
Sure.
you probably know it's like a story that hasn't been told for the first time. But I could sing as a kid, and I continued at singing at different events and like kind of religious events, or whether it
Yeah.
be social gatherings. And but sports was something that like was the priority for me for
Okay.
years throughout like middle school and high school. But you know, the voice never really goes away, and the performances sort of loosely continued throughout that time.
Sure.
And when I got through high school, I decided I needed something to keep me distracted from my studies, along with just like, you know, sports wasn't going to be something I did for the rest of my life.
Sure.
So I always loved listening to music, and I knew I could sing a little bit. So I continued through college and started to get into writing songs. And at the end of college, I decided to move to LA on a complete whim. Like I knew that I wanted to move a while back, but I was like, I didn't have any connections. I didn't know anybody at all. It was just like I was going to move here. I'd do the, figure it out, and as I went along. And when I moved to LA, that's when I started this project for under Faime, and I started releasing music under Faime. So it's
Nice.
been about 3 years. That was August 2018 that I moved, and I released my first song in December 2018.
Gotcha.
So it's been a little bit of time, about 2.5 years.
Was there a specific moment for you that you kind of wanted to take it from not necessarily calling yourself an amateur, but like actively seeking out to make this a career? Was there like a definitive moment or turning point for you?
I would say like there definitely was,
Hmm.
because when in LA, like as with any other artist, like in my mind, the ultimate goal was to, hit the big stage, perform shows in front
Sure.
of everybody, and, have the numbers and the accolades. That stuff I used to think, and I still do, that was the ultimate goal. But when I started, I was kind of balancing this double life of being in college,
Yeah.
and while in LA, and then starting to release songs and trying to figure out what does fame really mean.
Hmm.
And I got to, I would say, the first year of releasing music, which was 2019. It was just like developing this sound basically, and it
Totally.
was all like digital based. I actually still have never performed live in front of people as Fame. So that's
Okay.
going to be happening in 2022. But
Yeah.
like it was all just creating ideas and putting them out there in a good with a good strategy basically.
Sure.
And that was going well. And then I would say like things started to really become more realistic in 2020.
Hmm.
First thing is the year 2020 started, and one of the members of BTS actually shared my song.
Well,
Um,
that's as big as it gets right
yeah, I was
there.
literally sitting in
Wow.
class. I was literally sitting in class, and I was like, obviously, like just sort of paying attention to lecture, and I looked
Yeah.
at my computer, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, why is my Instagram randomly blowing up? And
Right.
yeah, those were really weird. And I was
Amazing.
like, at that time, I'm like, all right, like this is something that like people are really starting to connect with. And then the
Sure.
year went on, and we released more music throughout COVID. And I don't know, maybe it struck a chord with people during COVID as something that they wanted to listen
Yeah, man.
to make them just feel better and make them feel relaxed, or if they're going through a difficult time. And then come into 2021, and just our numbers overall were starting to look better, and like the amount of engagement I was getting was just increasing more and more and
Hmm.
more. And then I was like, okay, like this is something that we've been doing completely independently, and it's something that I think we could really take to the next level. And so
Absolutely.
coming into fall, like we really kicked it up into another gear in terms of just all the aspects of being an artist, and
Sure.
starting to take different meetings with different partnerships and whatnot. So yeah, it's been
Very cool, man.
quite the journey, but yeah, it's been fun every step of the way.
Absolutely. And yeah, like you said before, looking towards the future, it's like you want to enjoy those little moments.
Yeah,
Hopefully you can look back in a year or two and be like, damn, like I did this.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
so yeah, that's
No,
amazing.
I tell these guys all the time, because I'm always like very ambitious and like focused on like creating new things and trying to figure
Sure.
out what's next. And
Absolutely.
as with many people, it's like like they always remind me, like I remember what I would have done to be at the point I'm at today. And it's like you definitely want to take time to like step back and see everything that you've
Yeah,
accomplished
man.
before you just start, dismissing all that and working towards the next thing. So
Totally.
yeah,
I
it's something we think
do,
about.
yeah, I do want to take a look at this next year. Obviously hypothetical because no one knows what the hell's going on anytime. But
Yeah.
you mentioned live shows, you mentioned touring. How do
Mhm.
you envision your live show looking like?
Oh yeah. S- Um, okay, so for next year, we're starting off with some very simple, like unpublicized, almost like practice gigs in LA.
Totally.
Uh, Probably around, honestly, about a month and a half from now.
Cool.
Um,
I'll be
and
around.
then,
You let me know.
oh yeah, definitely. Are you based in LA?
I am, yeah.
Oh, nice. No, you
Yeah.
should. We definitely will. I think some of the people on my team, like they actually know a lot more people than I even do. So I think if you're
Sure.
able to make it, and
Yeah,
I think you
man.
might be connected with Justin from
Yeah,
our team, then
definitely.
you should definitely come. So we're starting off with those like smaller scale practice
Yeah.
sets around LA, and I think the goal is around end of March or April to put together our first like, you know, this is me like Fame headlining show
Hmm.
essentially. And I mean, the amount of thought and care that goes into the production, I would say we're going to double that even for the live show.
Yeah.
I like a lot of our songs are very, what I like to call it is big, rich productions. Even
Hmm.
if they're like more like comfortable songs, there's a lot of detail work that's put into them, and all of that's going to be translated into the live show. And I I personally believe that like a live artist the music should sound better live than it does even recorded. So that's
Fully
the
agree. You never want to be underwhelmed at the end of a set.
exactly. So that's the
Hmm.
amount. And the guys that I'm going to be performing with, for the most part, they're the ones that I created the music with. And so we know, it's kind of like we know our product and we know what parts of the
Totally.
songs are amazing, and they've got years of live performance experience in big stages. So we're gonna bring it when we definitely come live, and then. But I'm very excited to perform live domestically in the U.S. But
Totally.
the real fun is going to be, hopefully, depending on how COVID goes, possibly doing some shows internationally in where the majority of my audience currently is in like Southeast Asia. So like
Yeah.
Taiwan or Philippines or Indonesia. I'm trying to get some festival slots there. So that's for
Things
later
are
in the year.
slightly looking up Asia wise, just because I
Yeah.
love Asia and traveling there. It feels like they're becoming more lenient on like actually giving dates on when people are allowed to travel there. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping for your sake and my sake that we
Yeah.
can both get there next year and you can make something happen. I
Oh, I would love that. I
really
think,
think you'll be
again,
able to.
it's like people the US is a growing audience for me still, as with Asia, but it's
Sure.
it's still actually Asia, and the Asian countries are still the majority, where the majority of my
Yeah,
fans
man.
currently lie. And so it's something that I've, even in talking with our different partners over there, I'm like, I'm so keen to go over there and perform once
Yeah, man.
COVID starts to subside. But until then, we're going to start off doing some shows in the US,
Totally.
and kind of get our practice in, and maybe even make
Absolutely.
some more fans along the way.
I think that's a solid plan. Now, I want to take this hypothetical one step further. We are recording this in the middle of December, which means we're
Mhm.
basically at the end of the year.
Mhm.
Is there one specific goal that you'd like to accomplish by this time next year?
Hmm. By this time next year, I definitely want to have, and although we have already planned this, but I want to have my first headline show out of the way. I want
Okay.
it, all of this work over the last 2 years. People get really surprised when they hear that as Fame, never performed live, never performed any songs. So
It's not
part
that
of,
crazy, though. Maybe
yeah, it's
I
been
don't
kind of
understand how
crazy.
it works, but it's
Yeah.
not that crazy.
Yeah, no, it's also like COVID definitely, made
Absolutely.
it difficult for a while, but I'm actually happy because it allowed us to grow a lot during
Yeah.
that time when things were subsided. So
Mhm.
I definitely want to have my first live show out of the way. And I want it to be an experience that, the way that I feel when listening to the music, the way that people feel, I want that to be translated into, the live set. And then beyond that, if I'm being completely honest with you, that's the most important step for me.
There you go.
Like,
You're gonna
even to
get
put it
there,
live,
no doubt.
that's the best
A
way
year?
to.
A year's so much time.
Yeah, I think
And I
so.
feel
I think we'll
like
be able to do it. I'd
I
rather I'd
hopefully
rather
think
pick
it's
a
exponential.
yeah, I'd rather pick a goal that's like, I think we can achieve very well, and then hopefully break that ceiling. I mean, I would like to perform at some festivals and everything,
Sure.
but we gotta, we'll first showcase how good we are live locally before we can start, going out of state.
There you go. I've got a couple more questions for you at this
Sure.
point. Obviously, because we're a music blog and we're always trying to put people onto what they should be listening to, is there anything on your playlist that has been standing out that you just have had on repeat personally that you'd like to recommend?
Yeah. There's an artist called Blake Rose.
Okay.
We actually saw him 2 days ago here. And he came and performed in Seattle. and he's definitely been an inspiration for some of the music that we make. Just like he's a growing artist. He's from Australia, I believe, but
Okay.
he's really talented pop musician. So I would say first and foremost he comes to mind as of the most recent inspiration. Then I
Awesome.
take some from Pink Sweats and Jeremy Zucker as well. But right now it's been Blake Rose.
Very cool. Well, I have not heard of him, but I'll definitely make sure to check him out. So thank you for
Oh
that.
yeah, you should. You should. There's a couple songs of his, Lady and Casanova. They're both
Cool.
really nice. So you should definitely check them out.
I will. All right, I have one more question for you. Basically, the question is for the person that is going to discover you from this, and for the person that is going to listen to your music for the first time, what is
Mhm.
an opening message that you'd like to say to them?
Hmm. So I I'd say the main theme of why I create music and the main theme of, I mean, just who I am as a person. I I I kind of had I'm a pretty regular guy. Went through most of the same I guess steps, whether it be school or after school, after college, having a job, and I I'm a pretty regular guy who makes music that can help uplift and kind of help you feel good in a way that I think, we hear sometimes from artists, but we don't get to hear all the time. And if there's a message that I would say for anybody, it would just be that, the theme of a lot of my songs is life can get tough, but life is beautiful, and you have to trust the process. Whether it be in love or whether it be in trying to go for your career goals or in times of difficulty. So that's probably the message that I'd want to get across.
I think that's a fantastic message and a perfect place to close this. I
Definitely.
want to thank you so much again for taking the time and giving some really thoughtful answers.
Of
But
course.
I'm also going to plug one more time for you. If you guys
Yeah.
haven't checked out Love Drunk,
Hmm.
play it, stream it, send it, follow along. It sounds like there's a lot of big things coming in the new year, and I'm personally invested at this point to
Thank you.
keep up and check it out. So,
Yeah,
thank
we'll
you
hopefully
again.
see you on the next release. We'll talk just like this.
Yeah, man, you're welcome back anytime. So,
Absolutely.
seriously, thank you so much again.
Appreciate it, Austin. Take care.
Have a good rest of your day. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye-bye.